All right. Great to see everyone. We are a few office hours short. We had some long meetings, lots of planning. You come to the end of a quarter, you're planning out, reviewing, reflecting, and then also planning your next quarter. You stack some meetings on a Friday, you spend an hour and a half, 2 hours in calls. And then you're like, do we want to do this and reiterate things publicly that we just discussed? For a couple of weeks, the answer was no. We are here now. Nice to see everyone again. I am sitting, 𝗕𝗏, I took an inspiration from you where I'm actually targeting individual body parts in my workouts now. And today was leg workout day. So I cannot stand anymore. It's done. I'm 𝗕𝗏, CEO, co-founder of 𝗕cie. Lots of stuff happening in the last few weeks, and excited to go over that today. Anything that's really sticking out? No, I'm good. I'll do a little round of intros and then jump into some topics here.
All right. It's been a long time. This is 𝗲𝗏, CTO at 𝗕cie. Been working on a couple of things. A couple of new updates has been, pushed to the production, and some research work at the same time. Couple of interesting stuff happened in last couple of weeks. So yeah, let's dive in, and excited to chat more about it.
Nice. Hey everyone, 𝗕𝗏, digital strategist here at Speak. It's been quite, I think 3 weeks off at this point. So it'll be good to get back into it, and happy Earth Day.
Yes, we did not do. Yeah. We didn't do anything, and all our images are white and then surrounded with plants. So I feel like we have not done our contribution. But yes, happy Earth Day. We love you, plants. We love you, Earth. At the very least, go out and enjoy some here after the call today. Lauren, go ahead, sir.
Sure. Yeah, this is Lauren. I'm the accountant here, and yes, happy Earth Day. I'm gonna go outside and hug a tree after this.
Beautiful. We had a stack of unofficial holidays this week. Bicycle Day, 420, Earth Day. What a green week. What a wonderful thing. All right, let's jump in. We'll go alphabetical order and numeric order here. Affiliate program. Affiliate, if I had titled it referral, then it would be first title, but whatever. This is something that has been in the pipeline for quite a while. Didn't really have all the pieces in place to execute on it. Lots of variables, lots of things to consider about it, but is something that has come together nicely as we reflected on Q1 and then planned out Q2 and said, hey, what's the greatest impact we can make quickly? And would love to just hear your guys' perspective on it. Anything that you've learned from this process. Any recommendations if someone's watching this and thinking about trying to build their own affiliate program with the consideration in mind that we haven't even launched it yet. We have no idea if it will be successful in its current state. Any thoughts, any insights on that journey?
Did we cover anything before on the affiliate program?
Okay. We haven't had office hours since I think our OKRs, essentially.
Okay. So it would be great to, to the listener, like even for us to reiterate, what does this program for? What is that, mean to the listener, and how they can get the value from this?
I'm going to let 𝗕𝗏 take this. He's been a spearhead of this project here.
Yeah. Where to start? So I guess inspiration for doing this, or, building out this, let me move us over here, otherwise I'm going to get confused. So inspiration here was, we've been seeing a steady flow of new users coming in. We've, last month we hit our highest number of signups. Not sure if we're going to hit that same number this month, but, at the same time, I still think our traction has more or less remained the same, like subscriptions and number of people that have onboarded. But the next level for us was, okay, obviously we are somewhat limited in terms of human capital and how much, direct sales, let's say, our team can handle. And we have a large number of very involved users who would be amazing, referrers, or people that can help us actually share Speak with other people that could find use from it. But at the end of the day, no one really does things entirely out of the goodness of their heart. So, and everything's a business. So it's, from one business to another, that's an individual or an organization. We wanted to give people an opportunity to, help us sell speak and get speak into the hands of other people that might find us useful. And in return, they get to cash out a nice little check from that sale as well. So that was kind of the inspiration there, try to expand the channels by which we get people to come to our site, check us out, and hopefully convert into a paid user. We did like a bunch of the initial setup was around finding a platform that could help us manage everything that we needed to do in one place. We came close, but as is the case with most software products, like some platforms will have 80% of what you need, but it's missing 20%, while other platforms might have that 20%, but then they don't really have the other elements. And we ended up settling on testing out 𝗲𝗏𝗁, which will basically help us manage everything from creating an affiliate hub, creating personalized links for any affiliates, and then tracking their commission payouts or the payouts that they're due. Only element that's really missing through the platform itself is direct payments to affiliates, which I do believe is in their pipeline. So I think they said Q3 of this year, they plan to have that live where we could actually
next year,
which means next year, exactly. Which means, at that point we could hopefully pay out people directly through the platform and eliminate that kind of tiny piece of manual work we still need to do on our end. So that's piece number one. We sorted that out. Then the next step that I think took us quite a bit was figuring out the adequate commission percentages. What is, enticing to someone that wants to be a Speak affiliate, but at the same time still leaves us with decent room for, not losing money, right? We still want to be profitable. So for now, we've kind of found the sweet spot at around 25%, which is what, 𝗲𝗏𝗁 and I got into a short conversation earlier, but we can expand on that in a bit. Where 25%, right? We think that's a pretty hefty commission, especially based on some of the deal sizes that we see coming through, right? Like you bring us a customer that is $1,000 a year, for example, and you'll basically be walking away with $250. Which will probably be paid out to you over the course of the year, but that's still a pretty nice chunk of change for just sending someone our way and us doing the rest of the work essentially. So that was piece one. We've sorted out the pricing and the affiliate structure, figuring out an incentive for affiliates to actually offer their end users or their audience or colleagues, whoever it might be. I think we have settled on the incentive that we are going to provide, but we'll test and improve and see if we see any resistance or if things don't gain traction. And the final piece here, which is what ongoing, is the actual launch and post-launch support both for affiliates. And for this, there's this idea of creating like a resource hub for these affiliates, for our affiliates, where we're ideally providing them with like a breakdown of what Speak is, what Speak does, provide them with content ideas, provide them with marketing support in whatever capacity we can, and then hopefully I'm because it's not my strongest suit, it's not where I'm putting the majority of my effort, but actually even providing certain creatives that can either live on their sites, live on their signatures, whatever they choose to do, and try to gain some awareness and traffic through that. So I think those are the three pieces there, where it was like finding a platform to host the affiliate program. The second piece was figuring out how to make all the numbers work. And then this third piece is just how do you actually set up your affiliates for success once they've actually signed on. Because, we want to help them make sales, because otherwise, why would they want to promote us, right? Like if they're spending their time creating content or talking about us and no one actually buys our product, then eventually we're just going to lose any affiliates that come our way. So it's definitely an interesting dynamic where we're essentially going to get some help in a way, like we're outsourcing some of the sales efforts and the marketing efforts, or just broadening that net, not really outsourcing it. And then it's up to us to actually work on keeping and converting that user once they actually end up, or a potential customer once they actually end up coming to us. So it's been interesting. There's also been other things on the go, but that's kind of been the main focus. And next week we're going to kind of reach out to a couple of people that have supported us along the way so far, and who have shown interest in some sort of affiliate or partner program in the past, and basically give them first dibs on taking advantage of this before we actually roll this out to the general public. So short little breakdown. I'm not sure if along the way what we've found to kind of be the maybe biggest blocker, some of the worries that we've hit along the way. Like I know like Lauren actually mentioned at some point that he's not the biggest fan of this push, because there's very likely going to be a lot of admin overhead that actually gets that actually is involved in this entire process, that maybe we're not considering, or we don't see just yet because there's no one coming our way just yet because it's not live. But I feel like that's a learning experience for us too, where if we get a sudden influx and we can't handle it, then we kind of know that, okay, next time this is a serious point of consideration that we need to account for in future campaigns and future initiatives as well.
I think thank you. That was a wonderful overview. I think, one of the things in that is just like continuous transparency, open communication, whoever those people are who engage, whether it's someone signing up, whether it's the affiliate. We're doing our best. Everyone's doing their best. If there needs to be adjustments made, we do it, and we do it, as best as we possibly can. The other part that you sort of alluded to, I think, is this, you're trying to build a win-win-win situation. The person who gets the affiliate needs to win. Why would they promote us? They have credibility. There's two sides. Like, why would they promote us? So obviously there's the revenue capacity for them. So that needs to be rewarding enough. And then there also needs to be the trust in us that we're going to deliver on the services that then they are promoting. So that's one layer there. If we do that, and they get the revenue they want, and then the person that they recommend ends up having a great product experience, that's a very happy scenario that is played out. That's a happy scenario for us too. So that's why we're willing to give out this commission percentage, and you sort of play out these costs of, okay, well, what happens if we have to hire 2 sales reps who could do this same thing? And you realize that some of these affiliates, if executed right, have a much higher level of scale than even a salesperson could hit. They might have pre-built audiences, whether it's social media following, could have hundreds of thousands of website visits. You get embedded on the right page in the right place there with the right copy. That's can be a pretty powerful combination for us to do. And then I think, as you said, like everyone likes a deal or an incentive. So that other part for an affiliate to be able to provide, another layer of, hey, use my link right now, and this is why. I think that's another important value add that needs to be done. We played around with different incentives, and I think our business model is maybe a little bit different than most, but there was certain combinations of incentives, commissions, and then say annual plan discounts and things that led to a risky situation for us. So I think that's something that you need to, if anyone's looking at building out a referral or affiliate program, play out those actual scenarios, because we almost sort of proceeded without doing enough due diligence on what could happen here from a price standpoint if you actually stack all this stuff together. Very quickly, it was like, oh God, this is not going to work out the way that we want it to. And we had a previous experience like that through AppSumo, where they wanted us to give like lifetime, lifetime access to hours, plus a massive discount, plus a 30% commission on top of that. And when you stack that, those numbers just did not add up. And so we had some of the same experience. And so we had to throttle and make some calculations to get to a spot where we all felt like was a win-win there.
And feeding off that, because I think one of the, when considering some, like this isn't necessarily affiliate directly, but let's say on the lifetime or limited time deal side of things, I've actually noticed this trend where a lot of times there's reasons you won't necessarily see products that are doing, let's say, more advanced work, or working with more complicated types of data or media on platforms like that, just because there's so many costs associated with providing, some of the services that we do provide, that we just realistically cannot offer it within the same scope as someone, a company that's offering one thing, right? So that's why with this whole explosion of these like GPT-3 based tools, like when you actually look at when you look at OpenAI's cost per credit or whatever, like these companies are milking it, right? When they actually charge their customers, like they're adding like a 6, 7, 8x premium on what those credits actually cost directly. And because a lot of times it's just working with text, let's say, where, generally speaking, that is a cheaper medium. It's less heavy to work with, versus for us, there's so many costs associated, not only with the analysis and transcription of like audio and video files, but then you have your storage costs, your processing costs, all these things that just feed into a very different business model, and even marketing plays that we can actually do. So I think it's really interesting. When you first think about it, like we said, right, we wanted to just give blanket, this percentage to the affiliate, this percentage to the end user. And then by the end of it, we're like, okay, we will be, there won't be a company in 2 months if we did this, essentially. So,
yep. And that's the word, Nihal, you mentioned about the, the business model. I mean, that exactly what depends on like cracking this deal, or like, is that worth it or not? I mean, we see the other companies, they are promoting on, again, that could be the 𝗬𝗲 or any other programs. But, when you look at from the upper view and like you put the numbers on paper, those are not going to be add up. And like Tara also before, this call, and Nihal were talking about sort of the, even not just for us, but anyone, like how do you define the percentage for this affiliate program, or what is the definition of that mean, right? It's like, okay, of course you can do all the calculations. You can go through, what is your business model? What are the costs associated with that? And then you decide that, okay, this percentage makes sense. That could be in the range of 10 to 30%, let's say, or 5 to 30%. But okay, looking at the landscape from the market, it's like, okay, this company does support X percentage, Y percentage. Is that also mean that, okay, we also need to follow that path, or based on the numbers, do we want to, decide that number? So it's like, what are the ways you can make a final call for this percentage?
Trying to think if there's anything else to add to this, but we're going to have more insights as this goes live, as we start to get real customer feedback. Lauren, you came off mute. Anything that you want to add to this? You've obviously helped us put together what was some very sloppy Excel sheets by Nihal and I. Anything else?
That's okay. I understood what you guys are trying for. I have a question. Sorry if you've already answered it in some regard, but I'm just wondering, like, as far as like affiliate marketing goes, it's pretty like time intensive. It's pretty complicated. It's quite a lot of work. Why are you choosing this marketing initiative as opposed to like some other marketing initiative, like the more usual, Google ads, generating content on the website? Why is this, more of efficient use of our time?
Yeah. Do you want to go first?
Oh, sure. Well, here's my reasoning is is that you can tap into large, if you execute on it right. Yeah, there could be some in work to say, get that link, say, embedded on a website page or something like that. But there are downstream positive effects of it, which are, you could bring it to an entirely new audience who is trafficking those pages on, high commercial intent queries, or audiences that fit profile of our ideal customers. That link back in its own right sends contextual information to search engines, which will then lift the rest of our boat for our entire website. And, again, like say so you talked about other marketing ones, like Nihal could say deploy a bunch of organic search pages, but we could see 3 to 6 months for those to rank and really start to have an impact. But if we execute properly on one of these affiliate links, we could, end up on a page that gets 15,000 views a month. As soon as that link goes live, there's opportunity for revenue generation, growth, awareness, all those things. So there's, I mean, a couple ways that I'm thinking about it. 𝗕𝗏, not sure if you want to add to that.
Yeah, I think all those traffic and through people coming to our website is definitely one aspect of this, but I think the second aspect also just ties into like brand awareness and a bit of like contextual brand building around, okay, what are groups of people that we can reach out to that could benefit from our platform? And, like Tyler mentioned, like there's people that have built out these communities or have built out audiences that trust them and, they have a voice of authority in these, in the audience's mind. So that's a level of trust that for us to build will take us quite a bit more time, right? And obviously us being the direct company providing these services and stuff, sometimes that can make users a bit wary. So this way, it's kind of like we are not trying to like be overly salesy. It's just like, here's a useful product that could be added to your toolkit. And it, in a way, it is a bit passive. Like when it comes to like affiliates specifically, the whole idea is that it is a bit more cloaked and it is a bit more passive versus, let's say, something that's as direct as a sponsorship, right? Like if we went to let's say a voice AI newsletter and we were like, hey, we want to sponsor you. How much would it cost us to sponsor you? To basically have, a banner at the top of your newsletter being like, try speak. And a lot of times sponsorships, because I was considering sponsorships, I was looking at some sponsorship opportunities, but even for like a small, let's say, newsletter, right? Like someone with a list of, let's say, 5,000 people, they're not going to ask for less than $1,000, $2,000, which, I mean, at a certain point, hopefully that is negligible to us. But for now, right, like that might not necessarily be within our marketing budget. So this way, it's more like we're trying to build an engine that can scale without necessarily sinking more like direct money into it. So it's like we're maybe putting a bit more time into it and setting up these systems that may or may not work. But it's the idea is like on the flip side, if we do get this engine going, like all we really need is one really good affiliate to, potentially send a bunch of very relevant traffic that also helps us learn about where we maybe do better than the competition, where we need to improve to retain people. And I think, well, the hope is that we're going to get a lot of people that come through and actually help us improve our platform quite a bit too, which is always the dream when you are working with a product that is, product led, and you're trying to get it into the hands of more people that could benefit from this. So I think we kind of went into this thinking about, okay, instead of, let's say, necessarily scaling a direct sales engine from our end, how can we create an extension of our sales engine and try to get other people to sell for us without necessarily hiring them on to be like speak sales reps, right? And I think that's kind of at the core of it. It's just casting a wider net that we can potentially bring people in through.
When I've talked to people and also been plugged into the back end of engines where people have paid for sponsorship opportunities, and almost always the amount that you're paying is not what you get in return. I've seen people pay $15,000 for a sponsorship and get 3 clicks to their website. And that's just not we need to be more efficient and lean than that. So I think there are the way that we've set this up is nice. And we've set it up in the parameters where it's creating value for the affiliates, but also protecting our business, our model, our sort of circumstance within that. And I've shared a little bit about like this week, I've been doing some more personal outreach, but personal outreach, to do a good job of that, 15 minutes, 20 minutes that you're spending just on one message. And that's a lot. That's a big time commitment. And you can only do that. It's like, I don't know, 4 times 8. Anyways, you can't do that many times a day. So the amount of outreach that we can do actually scales really nicely. And I would also say it also becomes an additive offer for every single person who signs up for our platform. So even if they are not the perfect customer, they might know someone who is actually, this is the fit for, and immediately they can recommend that. And we can actually then work with companies to build them entirely new revenue streams. Like we're looking at marketing agencies, research firms. Some of these people were already sort of doing this process manually. And now we're just enabling them to do it more automatically, generate revenue. And I think there's a big value add on for a lot of these organizations here. So I hope that our answers here are correct, Lauren, and that we all feel that way at the end.
just to add on one last line is that, see, the engineering is also part of the creation of, or the creativity, right? So as in my belief, and it's like, that's very true, that marketing is same as that. You need to bring some more creativity to come up, with the more sales. There's no static engineering you can do. It's just pure creativity experiments and, see what's working, what's not working. And I think it's also, you can say it's like sort of the experiment with all this belief we have about the program.
And we'll quickly iterate on this. We'll learn very quickly, like anything that we launch. And I think the other part is that, we've seen demonstrated for something, even just as at AppSumo as a micro example, but one of the reasons why they pitched us so hard to list our product on their platform is because it does really well. Those kind of products do well. They have both a general purpose wide application that people understand and want to use. And then because of the way we've built it, get language insights fast. And also with this no code perspective, I think there's some pretty powerful messaging to an audience there. And I think it will allow us to refine that audience even more as we see people start to test out the platform coming from these affiliate links. So, overall, I'm excited. I think you start to put yourself into this, like everything you're doing with organic search, even, it's like you're putting yourself into unknown territories of discovery that you might not be able to predict, because someone just searches something one day, they find you, all of a sudden you get a new customer. And, even in the last month, we've had Salesforce, IEEE, I got it, that's all, Ipsos, like big companies come through and self-serve through a search mechanism primarily, that there was no pipeline built. There was this is a contact we've had for 6 months that we're trying to woo into a sale. This is just search, fulfill need, sell. And that's what we want to see. And as long as we're creating value along that entire path, everyone's kind of happy here. So let's parlay that into
just on a side note on that point about, you mentioned this couple of organizations and, experience talking to the customer through the support platform. The one thing I just realized that, we didn't receive any sort of, any messages from this paid subscriber, on like, okay, how does this work? Or how can I even upload the media? Like if you're like, really put that way, is like when they come up with the actual problem, they know how to get on the platform very quickly. And like, it's like, there's no actual technical blockers they have got so far on the platform.
Yeah, there's a level of sophistication and understanding for sort of, I would say, more leaning towards an ideal customer profile that can adopt and start using the platform very quickly. And that moves us towards better value creation, less friction on sign up to subscription offerings. And I think, we'll just, again, jump into this next topic of conversation, which I know we may feel like we've personally beaten to death in our private conversations, but it would be nice to have a reflection in here, more of a public for anyone who's following along. And one of those has been changes to how we are doing pricing. And this has been a slow and fast change that has happened through insights, incremental lessons, and then more and more people who are coming through with not necessarily different needs. I wouldn't say that, but if you configure something just this way, it creates more value and it builds a great relationship. And so just as an example, we've seen people who say, we're actually making this big transformation in our organization, and we are starting to capture audio and video from events all across the world. And we want to use this recorder link, but we're just not exactly sure. Is this transformation going to be adopted by our entire organization and create true value where we can sort of commit to a large annual plan, et cetera? So to say, hey, can we subscribe for a 3-month trial period with these sets of features so we can test to see if this gets adopted? It's in the past, we had been more rigid, and instead we say, yeah, of course. Like, why would we block that? And then it's now our responsibility to create value in that time, and then transfer to the larger plan that we want to get to. So overall, this theme of personalizing people's plans or giving people the opportunity to tailor their experience of speak, their configuration of speak based on team size, the kind of media they're analyzing, how much volume that is, what features or solutions that they're asking for, has created a lot of value. We've been doing that through a very manual process, and we're now excited to bring that into a much more automated, refined process. So again, love to hear, some of your insights on that. Marketing perspective, sales perspective, engineering perspective, business model perspective, all of this really came together pretty quickly. So been an exciting sprint for us, and would love to talk about it a bit.
It's absolutely exciting change. For us as well as for the customer, because at the end that creates the value, and when it creates the value for the customer, that's the bottom line. And I would say that started like around a month and a half or maybe 2 months ago, when you and Nihal put this customized sort of the active campaign form where they can send you a message with all these details, and it's then I think so converted to the JAT form or something where they can choose all these different options. And I think so the momentum was already been started at that time, and we see a lot of inputs were coming. Of course, need to do some sort of manual work to configure those plans. And after that, the whole dynamic piece of creating your own plan creates a lot of more values to the customer. Just give me 1 second. I think so it's some background noise.
Just to add, as Vatsal's tuning it off, some of the times went from fighting tooth and nail to get to an arrangement of a plan that the customer felt was worthwhile to, hey, I want to subscribe for an annual plan, and thank you so much for setting this up for me. And when you start to have that transition with your relationships with customers, you start to ask yourself, are what we doing in the current status quo, are we creating blockers and self-imposed blockers? And so the question that we asked ourselves is, how can we reduce this, rigid approach to pricing that we have to create more value? And that's where we've ended up today. Sorry, Vatsil, continue.
Apologies for that. That's what I was talking about. The bigger blocker was this transcription hours, right? Even if you look at the current pricing, we put 2-5 times, what does that even mean when I want to transcribe, let's say 15 hours right now, I have all this media ready. It's oh, you can do for 10 for now, and then on top of that, that's a 5, right? So it's already we are, the explanation of that already taking so long. So I think so that's another piece where as a customer, I'm going to decide how much content I have, how quickly I want to do transcribe through the platform that Speak provides. And along the line is we see, you put it, another point was this recording solution, right? And you see on the Google, it's on the marketing and the sales, it's on the top Google search results. And we have an amazing input channel for users to capture this recording. Another piece is the integrations. The third is the uploading this file. So this capture piece has already been there, and with that, it's allowing the users to import a lot of media. And with this customized pricing options too, I know what I need from the services. Sort of, a la carte is okay, I like this, let me subscribe. And at any moment I wanted to include, let's say, another bucket of this feature, I can include as well, or maybe I can try for 14 days. And I think so it's also the, premium offer for them, for us, is to also give them, based on the usage, some premium add-ons for 7 days trial, 14 days trial, right? So they can experience that and have understanding about how does this work and why, when looking at the value they can get out of, this feature set.
We'll add one, very had a pretty intense conversation about it as well as looking at it was like this sort of what we're now doing, which is per pricing of a user model, which is something that we have never done in the past. We've done buckets of users, and in some ways that has served us well because it's been a differentiator. Other times it's, I believe, and maybe that's a subjective feeling, discounted what should have been maybe paid for as a premium for it by, like, we have certain accounts with, a lot of people in it every day using it. And, there's maybe not that much of a hard cost to our business. In some ways there is, but there's a lot of value created there. And when you match value with cost and you do it in the right way, there should be a reflection and willing to move forward as a customer. And so that's something that I'm really interested to see how, our prospective customers and customers react to that shift. I think as part of this process, anytime you're reviewing pricing, there is this very deliberate work to, hey, we're putting a lot of work in this. We want to keep this engine growing. We want to invest back into product development. And then you're also trying to say, hey, we have people who have been here since the very start, supporting us and paying us every month, making sure that they're taken care of, making sure that they feel that if changes in pricing will impact them, that they feel seen, they feel accommodated, and those things. So I think if you are considering changing pricing in your company, make sure that you're accounting for those factors, because you want to make this as smooth as transition as possible. And there is this sort of advice that comes out when you're doing your pricing, which is basically upsell your pricing until you churn 20% of your users. And then that's the point where you need to stop. That's the price point there. I don't think we're going that aggressive with that, but that's a really interesting insight that has been sort of given through best practices on modifying pricing. So we're going to learn. Excited to sort of take on this journey. And I just, as a frequently asked question, I thought, we were talking about what frequently asked questions, like we've made the per user price very insignificant because we're creating a bucket of hours that everyone can grab. So you're not getting a whole new set of hours for each customer. You're just giving an account wide hour or, pool that you can then all use together, kind of thing. So maybe that's something that just as you were talking about, so I was like, maybe we should specify in our frequently asked questions about the per pricing per hours. Not every user gets 10 hours, kind of thing. So, Nihal, any thoughts? You've obviously put a lot of role and thought into this, and Lauren as well too. And then we're already at 40 minutes, so we'll wrap this up and then maybe just do a little debrief on anything else, and then let you guys enjoy the weather. Well, that's what you said. I guess you're at nighttime, but as you said, it's very hot. So
yeah, it's a nighttime, but in the afternoon, I usually go out of my home like after 6:30.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. I guess for pricing, it's really interesting. I think there's two trains of thought, where one is you just present a very rigid, we've made the choice for you, here you go, right? 3 plans, no more flexibility. And I think that works really great for products that maybe don't have that many variables that go into selecting the best fit for you. Well, for us, I think there's a lot of variables that, why do we need to be very, like, if the only blocker to an end user is, I don't need X or I don't need Y, but I want everything else, is it really worth losing that customer or prospective customer just because we want to be, I guess, like hard stuck to, what we've decided on what should be the price for that, or what our bundles look like, essentially. So I think the way we're doing it, and we'll obviously see, how much friction it causes, does it create a lot of work for us? But I think our initial hypothesis and kind of the ethos out of which this was born was, how do we make pricing a part of the customer journey as well, right? Like them being able to actually build out a specific plan or build a bundle that basically works for their exact needs. And, at a price that is quite attractive, if I'd say so. And that also works for us. So if we have the capability to do that for them, why not give it a shot, right? Like even if it adds, 5 to 10 minutes of customer support time, but it actually moves them even closer to that actual conversion, then I think it'll be a successful experiment and successful project overall. And it's nice because obviously maybe once we hit a certain level of scale, maybe there might be some things that start to break, but if that's not a problem for us right now, I don't think it's something that should hold us back. So
Lauren, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with like the new pricing structure, just the whole customization thing. I think it's kind of in the same vein of what we were doing like originally, like 2.5 years with the prices, where we're just pretty much just charging for just usage, really. So it's kind of going back to the whole, I'm only going to be charged for what I use here. But there's a lot more variability added to it now, just because there's so many different features. There's new teams, like team members that you could bring on. So there's a lot more. Just you make the platform very unique to yourself, which I feel has always been the aim, that everybody's experience should be tailored and unique.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we are sort of, I would say the general most adoption and we are seeing is, I would classify them as prosumers or small businesses, or then independent teams within large businesses. So it's still speaking, most of our services and offering, the adoption that we're seeing is still speaking to a relatively small group of people who actually have the decision-making power in themselves. And like, I just think, yeah, it comes back to the sort of value creation for both parties. It's possible for us to do. And what's interesting is sometimes pay per usage is a very, developer focused pricing model. And I think we've sort of layered the best of both worlds, which is sort of this more consumer, here's your buckets of software plans that you can pick, as well as, the developer friendly, only pay for what you use kind of thing. And I think we've blended that together as best we could, especially on a first iteration. And again, we'll continue to learn as we go along. And just one, really interesting experience I had in 2019 at a Tech Toronto event was, there was a company that had sponsored that event, and the entire company's mission was to personalize pricing pages based off data that they had about you. And so it would sort of like dynamically adjust your pricing page based on, any signals, company domain, emails, IP, like all this stuff. And until that moment, I just thought most people were seeing the exact same pricing. It was sort of like a magic trick that I realized, like how much personalization and science goes into optimizing pricing, especially at levels of scale. And they were also working, I would say, with larger deal sizes, and it gets even more and more intense at that level to make some of those deals go through. And if you're trying to sell a big customer at $100,000, there's going to be some give and take to make sure that is that win-win situation, unless you build something that is, I don't know, it's just like truly, revolutionary. And not to say that we're not, but the other part that was
like the static plan doesn't work nowadays. Like if you look at any companies, like if you stick to the static plan or the offers you provide and you ask them to pick from these 3 options, that doesn't work in nowadays. You need to give them an option of pay per use. It's like, how much do you want to use? This is how it's going to cost. And that number upfront, rather than, let company to decide what does that number look like. And I think so that's a good time. I think so I came across an article. I was like looking for a link, but that article was talking about the growth differentiation between these companies who go pay per usage model versus the sort of the static pricing on their page. That's different is so huge, because now if you even talk about from the developer focus, all this company like using AWS, Google Cloud, or Azure, or IBM, like all their pricing structure is pay per usage. Even if you're a developer or not, you are supposed to be in the business domain, and the cost associated to your business. And when even as a non-technical person, I'm just paying, let's say, $10,000 to the AWS for my usage. Like, you are not paying anything upfront. So I think so that's in everyone's mind from the business perspective, and that's going to bring us a lot of value. Another last point, Tara, you talk about like the customer profile around this is from of course, the small medium business side from the consumer end. But at the same time, when you mentioned all this company about, let's say, IEEE or equals, right? So all this company are like huge organizations, and the people are signing up are like coming from either the executive position or the managerial position, where they have the rights to make the decision or put the credit card on the platform. So I think that there are two things. It's like, of course, as an individual, you wanted to use the speak, but on the other end, when these people are coming from the enterprise, they have the authorized, power to use the company credit card, for this type of services. So I think so. These are the business profiles. Also, we are seeing that as well.
Yeah. And I just think today, people as a consumer, as a buyer, you want transparency, you want that flexibility. And I personally, I know we're still optimizing this calculator, but it's like, just to be able to click and pick what I want. Like, just as an example, I love SEMrush, one of my favorite tools, but I use 10% of the flow of the offerings that's provided, and yet I'm paying a significant portion. I wish I could go just click. I swear, God, this is all I use, SEMrush. Just let me use this and let me pay $20 a month instead of $99. I would be so happy as a consumer, but they have power. So go ahead and, use this.
Yeah. I mean, to that point, right? Like, I think obviously at a certain point, maybe you don't even, you don't necessarily care about people that can't afford you, right? At a certain point, you get to that point where it's like, okay, you can't afford us, whatever. But I think as long as you're in the position to be a bit more flexible, you're not only generating goodwill, like you said earlier, right? Like, we've literally had messages where people like thank us for the great plans that we build for them, right? Which is a nice feeling. Like, as a business, you want your customers to actually feel like they're being treated like a human in that transaction, right? So yeah, I'm excited to see how, and I mean, the actual calculator itself looks great too, and it's fun to play around with. So I feel like if anything, we'll have some nice on-page time metrics for our pricing page.
And it's a differentiator that I'm happy about. And one last, again, coming up on time here, there's one thing that I thought was really interesting that 𝗏𝗲𝗁 talked about, which is just this. So we've talked about it before, about this, obviously there's default categories, and then there's this custom categories. And really, to me, what this is a sign of is that we found the right customers when they're interacting with this layer of the platform. So I am research firm. I'm specifically interested in research around climate change. I add a custom category about, like ocean environments. And then I put keywords and phrases specifically related to that. And it's definitely, the word's not counterintuitive, but it's interesting because as a company, you are, especially on what kind of company you are, you're optimizing for revenue, profitability, sustainability, but other companies focus specifically on growth, maybe with some of the luxuries of, cash reserves, where their mandate is growth. They're focusing on product usage. And so when we look at this, this idea of, how many customers in our platform have created a custom category? How many have created one insight? What is our total number of custom categories and insights? I just thought that was, was glad to hear that is being adopted. And I think from a periphery metric, we're seeing people who have built out their custom categories even stop a research project, but wanted to continue paying for the subscription because of the investment they had made into their custom categories and insights. And so, like we had a hypothesis before around the more media you put into speak, the less likely you are to churn and the more value is created. A signal for us has now been, if you create custom categories and insights, that also has that same impact. So, helping guide people through that experience and giving them the value and understanding like how complex of a process this would be doing it manually or through coding is, I think, a nice drive and something for us to rally around. So just something I wanted to call out.
Yeah, because even like the one shortcut that 𝗏𝗁 talked about today, like about how you can basically just paste your entire list of categories and insights into Speak, and it'll start grabbing those insights from you throughout the platform, which I was complaining, for example, like in SEMrush, as an example, like there's so many, like as advanced and despite their large budgets, like something as simple as an easy way to like create filters and clean the data that you're kind of sorting through doesn't exist, right? Versus like we're letting people do that, where it's like you have this data set that you've already built on your end. We're not going to make you completely hand type that back into Speak, right? You can just give us what you need and you're off to the races, right? So I thought that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And like as we are speaking, that brings another idea about, let's say if because we also have the list of words which can exclude, sort of the category. And in this case, let's say if you have the words in one column, sort of the include and the exclude, and you can also actually copy both of these in one column, and you can assign to the value as a 1 and -1. If the value is -1, that will automatically populate into the exclude category, right? But even, coming to the ground level, even the trouble, like I wouldn't say that word, but like, how we can make it much more easier or conveyable for the user friend that, hey, you also can use the shortcuts. Like, should we put like, the shortcut label as it is? And it's like, talk to them is like, oh, you can do this, you can click on this way. Because like, I was doing some analysis as we speak before too. But like, I really, really hope people are not typing up the words manual, because, probably next time I'll bring some numbers, but like when you look at the numbers, it's like you would also be surprised that really like these people are really typing like that. Just, I mean, I don't know. I just feel sad about that thing. It's like, I hope, like, how can we make it much more easier in that way?
Yeah. I also know this isn't like necessarily feature request time, but like to that piece about making it easier for people to find things, I almost feel like you added this specific insight search, for example, right, where now people can actually search for the specific terms or even categories that they're looking for. It'd always be like super neat if at the top we have all these categories that they've built out, and you can basically click buttons that take you to those specific filters, right? Because in a way, those are like filters that they've created for those words. I almost feel like that would add like a nice level of like ease of discovery and like, data cleaning to the process as well. Like just, because we've been talking about cards and simplifying like pathways to different places within the app. I feel like that would be a pretty interesting implementation.
Some of our lists are pretty comprehensive, and then other ones are more subjective, right? Like filler words, as an example, we have that list, and it's like, like, as. So like those are pretty objectively universally defined as filler words, specifically in the English language. But so those are, I think, more of an opportunity for, say, this import, whereas then there are these other layers of categories which are very subjective, where an import wouldn't even make sense. Or if they make an import, they're going to have to go and clean that up, because there might be things that are there that they don't want there, or there are things that are not there that they want to add. So these are the complexities and nuances of dealing with language data. But again, I'm proud to see a tool that allows people to do this, whereas in the past, this would have been a painstaking, horrible process. So that's exciting, and it moves us towards this sort of semi-automated, quick, efficient extraction of insights from language, which is obviously what we've always rallied around. So that's all.
Just to continue on your point, I think so we should give, because one of our bucket is also sort of the customized, default and custom category. I think we should pre-populate the category, as we put on Speak to automatically import in their account if they use this premium add-on. Right, so that creates the value
sure.
upfront. Is like having this category pre-built in their account. It's like, if you don't like it, you have this delete button now.
Turn it off. Yeah. And we will make this shift towards more sentence level insights, and that just adds an entirely other layer around it. So overall, lots of this core foundation there, seeing more people value the product as it is in its current state, instead of all the requests being, hey, can you do this on top? And when you have moments like that, it makes you very happy. So glad to see that continue. Look forward to continuing that with you guys. Anything else that you want to chat about before we close this out?
Oh, all good.
Beautiful.
An hour.
Yeah, kept it tight, kept it nice. Obviously, many topics that we could talk about, especially after a couple of weeks off. But I think we bucket this so we got sure that we've got some juice for the next one. Thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of the day for Lauren and Neil. Hope you get some nice weather this weekend. That's of course, I hope you do too. That's all. Back to Canada soon. Excited to have us all back in Canada land.
Only a few more weeks left.
Yeah,
so,
beautiful. All right, looking forward to it. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of the day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
To everyone.